Well, good morning, and thank you for joining us today in Madison at Dakota State University. It was about a month ago that I toured this facility as part of my Open for Opportunity tour. In fact, I think today makes the third trip in probably about 3 months that I've been to Dakota State. Just the day before my last tour, Reed Rasner and his crew announced that they were looking at South Dakota as a potential landing spot for an American-owned TikTok. Reed and I had a few conversations that led up to that announcement, and I was of the opinion that it would be absolutely poetic for an American-owned TikTok to wind up in South Dakota, whether that be in part or the whole thing. Under the Nome Road administration, we led the nation by banning TikTok for state government. We didn't want South Dakota taxpayer data to be compromised by the Chinese Communist Party. And dozens of states and the federal government followed our lead. So when Reed was looking for opportunities and options for the potential landing spot, South Dakota made a lot of sense for a lot of reasons to me. We're the freest state in the nation, and an American-owned TikTok must focus on freedom of expression. And we established ourselves as a hub for cybersecurity and other emerging technologies. And I'm glad Reed is joining me here today in South Dakota. They just toured Dakota State's MAD Labs, and I have never ceased to be impressed at the work that they are doing here and the things they're accomplishing. Later today, we'll be going to a data center and to Foundation Park. And so with that, I will turn this over to Mr. Rasner for some remarks. And again, thank you for being here.
Thank you. I would like to thank everybody for having me this morning. This has been a fascinating tour of the facility, and I've learned more than I expected to learn here. So this has been great, so thank you for that. In my mind, I now realize how important it is, more important now than ever, for public-private partnerships to happen, that is for sure. So as we look forward to bringing TikTok to America and securing user data, but also our national security and our digital sovereignty, South Dakota becomes more prominent, and it's due to the leadership and the advanced thinking of Governor Roden in his office. This man, you guys are very lucky to have him as your governor, because he's a visionary in his own as he looks forward down the road 5, 10, 20 years and even further to bring this to right here to South Dakota. So we're happy to be part of this. We're excited to become part of the South Dakota family, and we've been very welcomed here. Sioux Falls has been amazing to us. Madison has been amazing to us. And the Black Hills has always been amazing to me. I love the Black Hills. So thank you to everybody, and thank you to South Dakota, and thank you to Governor Roden and the administration for having us. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. It's a privilege to welcome Governor Roden again and Mr. Reed Rasner to Dakota State University. As you'll see at Dakota State, we've made it our mission to lead in cyber education, research, and national security. And we're proud to be one of only 10 universities in the nation to hold all 3 National Security Agency Center of Academic Excellence designations. We've also built strong, trusted relationships with key agencies, including the National Security Agency, National Institutes of Health, National Science Foundation, Department of Homeland Security, Department of Defense, and Army Cyber, because they recognize the caliber of our work and the talent that DSU and South Dakota can produce. Our graduates are highly sought after across the country, including in Washington, D.C., where most recently our DSU alumnus, Madhu Gautamakala, was recently appointed by former South Dakota Governor and now DHS Secretary Kristi Noem as Deputy Director of CISA. Mr. Rasner's interest in platforms like TikTok speaks to the scale of his vision for emerging technology in America. And with Governor Roden showcasing our state, this visit is a chance to highlight the momentum that's happening right here in South Dakota, and especially at DSU. From cutting-edge research in the fields of cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and digital privacy, to the development of secure digital infrastructure, the state we call home is where meaningful, future-focused innovation is happening today, tomorrow, and for decades to come. We're delighted to show what's possible here, and we're excited about the opportunities ahead for potential collaboration and investment. So thank you for taking the time to see what South Dakota and Dakota State are offering to the future of cyber and emerging technologies. Thank you.
With that, we'll open it up for questions. Yes, sir.
So what comes next in this conversation about potentially bringing an American-owned TikTok maybe to South Dakota? Looking down the road next month, 6 months from now, what comes next?
Sure.
Reed?
So I think first thing is first, we have to make a deal with China. So my message would be China has to sell because the Supreme Court in a 9-0 decision said that they have to divest for TikTok to even stay in America. So I would ask President Trump to facilitate the transaction and sell us ByteDance. We're ready to sign. Our investors are ready. We don't need another extension. We can go to Washington, D.C. today and sign the papers. But China has to come to the table and sell. So assuming they sell by the June 19th deadline, we would begin opening up discussions with Governor Roden further and implementing our public-private partnerships right here with Dakota State, bringing in our data storage and beginning to work to build out the infrastructure for TikTok in the future right here in America. So it's not only going to be American-owned, it's going to be based on American soil. So that would be the next steps, but first step is acquiring TikTok.
Assuming a successful sale, is South Dakota the clubhouse leader for the eventual location?
They're certainly the front runner for our infrastructure right now, 100%. So the reality is Governor Roden, in his greater vision for South Dakota and advancements in technology, has truly thought ahead, and he has partnered with us in a very strong and vocal way. We appreciate that. We love South Dakota, and we find that this is going to be a very great home for TikTok in the future and have a very special place with TikTok in the future. So it'll have a very strong footprint here. We're looking at other states, obviously, in the Intermountain West, but South Dakota will have a large footprint for sure. We want to make sure that the Intermountain West has economic opportunities that are very abundant through this new digital footprint that we're going to create.
Why should ByteDance sell TikTok for rebates?
I'm the greatest bid out there, $50 billion. It's a clean break. We follow what the regulators wanted. So the regulators asked for a few things. One was a clean break from the algorithm with China. Our offer does that. Our offer is $20 billion ahead. So we're not just buying the application, we're buying the algorithm. And our offer also allows ByteDance, the company who wants to sell in our conversations, a 20% stake in the company like the legislation allows for. So they get to continue to own 20% of the company. China is out. We own the algorithm. We get the digital footprint. And they get to make an amazing amount of money with us. And we get to reinvest that in our states, which is most important when we look at public-private partnerships. Yeah. Oh.
So you say you've been in conversations with ByteDance as well as the Trump administration? Have you been in conversations with these folks about this?
Yeah, so our original bid was presented to the Trump administration, and we've had conversations since. And we've been in conversations with ByteDance legal counsel in America, so I'll be very clear here. Okay. ByteDance legal counsel, so their attorneys who are handling the transaction is who we've been in conversations with.
Maybe one follow-up?
Chat.
So you've secured how much private equity? $50 billion?
Our bid is for $47.45 billion, which is $20 billion ahead of the next highest bid. And we have at least secured that much money, I can say.
Should this come to fruition and the TikTok headquarters is in South Dakota, and this could be for you or whomever, might that mean for jobs as a result?
Well, it's going to be a great job. So we're going to, for TikTok itself, and I'll let Governor Roden answer this too, we are going to prioritize hiring Americans and American first. This is the American first bid. President Trump put our bid out on Truth Social, and one of the pillars in our mission is we're going to hire veterans And we want to make that a priority, our veteran hiring process, not only as actual employees, but as we build out the infrastructure, we want to make sure we use veteran-owned companies to do that. And do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, well, I think obviously there's a lot of question marks on that because and I think Reed would probably agree, it depends, you have the administrative side, the data centers, there's a different number of employees depending on what lands in South Dakota, whether it's administrative or the entire enchilada. So I think it just depends on how this all plays out and how it evolves. I'm excited, though, just from a general perspective, at the prospects of Reed and his crew. The better I've got to know them, the more comfortable I feel with their, I believe they're a good fit for South Dakota and the lead that we've taken. So I've become more and more comfortable and excited about that kind of a partnership of a conservative, common sense grounded company moving to South Dakota with TikTok. It just has a great deal of appeal and potential for the future of our state. Yes?
There are obviously a lot of different bidders that are vying for TikTok at this time. Many of them, it's safe to say, are incredibly high profile, Oracle, Microsoft, Amazon, businesses like that. How certain are you that your bid will be the one that is eventually chosen and why?
Well, I'm $20 billion certain. We're $20 billion higher than the next bidder. And we've given a full outline, and we have the great state of South Dakota backing us. And it looks like a beautiful thing. President Trump is definitely paying attention because we're the only bid that he's put out on Truth Social as the most Trumpian American first bid. So where I stand, I'm pretty confident with our process moving forward, that's for sure. The legislation mandates that the executive office, regardless of who's in it, has to sign off on whoever acquires TikTok. So the indication from President Trump himself was Reed Reisner is that guy. So it just hasn't been decided yet. Thank you. Oh, sure.
If TikTok does end up coming to South Dakota, what role might Madison or ESU play in that?
Well, it looks like they're going to play a pretty large role. So I'm really, I support public-private partnerships, and I think to fund what we're trying to do and protect the data and security of TikTok and user data and the other projects that we have working in the background, I think what you guys are advancing right here at Dakota State is a perfect match for what we're looking for, and your research will prove to be very essential to us and our plans moving forward.
So obviously the whole discussion about data security and just keeping Americans' data safe, how would it be safer with Reisner Media?
Well, we're going to partner with Dakota State University to make sure it is the safest. So we're going to work with them through quantum computing, so post-quantum computing, AI, and cybersecurity, and we're going to make sure that your data is not only stored and housed on American-owned database and data centers, but also American-owned cloud storage and protected by American-owned IP and quantum computing. So it's going to be very important for us as we look forward to having this partnership.
How big of a data center will you need to get this in South Dakota?
It's going to be big. Well, listen, I think there's going to be more than one data center. So there's 170 million users currently on TikTok, and they actually project up to 200 million. From 170 to 200 million users on TikTok currently in America alone. We're going to have several data centers protecting several different aspects of the app. So the app is more than just a fun video scrolling app. There's a lot of components to it. There's a lot of moving parts. It's a full infrastructure, and I think the data centers are going to play a very big role in a lot of different areas, and hopefully it's a very big footprint across South Dakota using your abundant energy. And you guys are a cooler climate, which helps a lot in our data centers too.
Would you keep the name TikTok or change it?
Well, we're probably going to keep TikTok. It'll be U.S. TikTok. It'll be the American-owned TikTok. So it'll still, ByteDance will still own 20% of it in the deal. So it'll probably still be TikTok. We'll just have the American-facing part of it. You have any last words?
Well, if there's no further questions, thank you again for joining us. It's been our privilege to get to know the president the last few months and get back to Madison. My wife is from Madison, and most of all my in-laws are from Madison, and I've had some close friends. I've always called Madison kind of my surrogate sister city because of the people I know here. So again, thank you all for being here.